talking about Israel and we're not. Instead, we're focusing uh, these. This is basically what happened in Ferguson in uh, Missouri. Is another Fast and Furious. Tell me if I'm wrong there, Rose. Go ahead.
Well, the problem with today society is that we're seeing so much violence.
Right.
And we're seeing so many crises. As Rahm Emanuel said, never let a good crisis go to waste. And since 2009, we have seen one crisis on top of the next crisis on top of the next crisis, and they're all being swept away with dead Americans involved. And when, a leader asks, will you fire on Americans, you have to go back to Kent State when they did fire on American white students and killed them and injured them. And that was an attack by our own government against university students who were protesting.
Right, Bill Ayers. Remember Bill Ayers? Great example. Bill Ayers, another one.
And he didn't get punished, and he's teaching our youth for 2 or 3 decades now, his liberal, anti-American views.
Right.
And now we have more liberal kids that are now young adults who believe this crap.
And now we got. Wait, I want to stop it right there.
And that we are the bad guys, when we are actually, the American people are not the bad guys. If there's bad guys, they have to be in leadership, not the American people.
Also, we got Al Sharpton and Reverend Jesse Jackson telling us that the ACLU needs to be involved with this. Why does the ACLU need to get involved with this and taxpayers funding money? We gotta stop the shenanigans. I mean, Eric Holder's going to go down to Missouri. What's he going to do? Another Fast and Furious. Nothing's going to get done. That's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing a cripple economy here, and I'm seeing a structure of being ungodly like and taking away the Bible and pulling the Quran into this country. I've seen a world of a terrorist nation, and Charles Kammer's got it correct. The biggest threat right now to America is ISIS, Syria, and Iran right now, and it should be addressed. And why aren't we addressing Israel? We should be supporting them. And what is the news media doing? They're giving these guys who actually did this crime all the publicity in the world, and they're telling us it's okay to actually commit crime. That's what I saw last night on Fox News with Shepard Smith, who's actually he's another darn pinhead out there in news broadcasting. And this is what, and even Eric Bolin got it correct too as well. I said we are just praising criminals right now in our in this society. That's what we're doing. We are praising them. It's okay for them to murder other people, and we'll give them the same publicity as sports and celebrities and movie stars. Now we're going to give them the same publicity. Go right ahead, Rose. Tell me where I am. If I am off base or I'm on target. Go ahead and tell me.
Well, the bottom line is that people who are too young need to do their research. And I posted on my Facebook wall today what has been going on for decades now, starting with Kent State in the 1970s when the protests began. And then Nixon saying he didn't care if he was a one-term president as long as he was able to, him and Kissinger were able to pursue their goals, which I believe was the New World Order. And so white students were massacred at Kent State by our own American law enforcement. And then you can go to Ruby Ridge, and again under the Clinton administration, Reno and Holder administration, they murdered a mother sitting on the front porch holding her baby. farm, and they murdered a little boy running through the forest and his dog. And then you go, based on their accusations, not their evidence, but their accusations only, which makes the NDAA law very, very scary and unconstitutional, of course. And then you have the Waco, and I interviewed David Thibodeau, who was a survivor. His story was much different than that news media. And I interviewed him 4 times on Women Fight Back, my cable TV show, and also Issues of the Day, another cable TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a very different story, and there was only, I believe, 18 survivors. And it was the survivors who were arrested and charged with crimes, not the government. And it was the government who fired on Americans allegedly fired on Americans because they didn't have to do that, but I still recall Janet Reno and President Clinton saying they ran out of patience. So again, we had a paramilitary army of National Guard and police at all of these different protests or situations or Americans who were being accused of a crime and weren't given due process of law. And so neither were the kids at Kent State, neither were the people at Ruby Ridge, neither were the people at Waco, and they could have arrested, according to David Thibodeau, they could have arrested David Koresh at any time because he used to go into town every Saturday, and I believe he even played music at a club. So this is all very interesting, and I think these are all test cases for what's coming.
Right.
And I think the American people are very frightened to see the police being militarized, and the blacks need to be very aware that, they have to be very aware today that their kids who are out there protesting aren't in the same position as if the U.S. Constitution hadn't been made meaningless and Congress hadn't been made meaningless and we didn't have a push for a new world order. So their kids, they should not allow their kids to go to those protests. Unfortunately, when the police call out a curfew, they should go home because I see this as very dangerous. Another Waco, another Ruby Ridge, another Kent State, possibly, in my opinion. And then, of course, you can go all the way back to 1965 when we had the Watts riots, and they sent in the police barricades and the National Guard as well.
Right.
So there was Americans murdered at that time as well. So these are very serious parts of our history that have led up to what we're seeing today. And now we have our open borders. What I would like them to do, I'd like them to take all of those paramilitary officers and all that equipment and set it down to the border.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree.